Sorry, hello. Somebody asked me a question about femininity, and she talked about a femininity movement being pushed. And she asked me, what is femininity exactly? Femininity is just hard to explain, just to give an overall, just a general definition of femininity. Femininity could depend on culture. Femininity could depend on what particular time this group of people were in. Femininity now might not be the same as femininity 10,000 years ago. Femininity now might not be the same as the femininity during the time of the Sibyls, the SYBILS. Femininity now might not be the same as the femininity during parthenogenesis, when the females are only able to give birth to themselves, and they don't even look like the humans that look like today. Okay, so my point is, and then femininity in the United States is not even the same as maybe femininity that's in, say, maybe Zimbabwe, or femininity that's in other areas in the world. You know what I mean, right? Everybody has their own understanding of femininity. So I feel like when some people talk about what femininity is, they're basically talking about femininity in the Western world. In the Western world. And it's kind of based on a European standard. That is not to criticize that, though. I'm not trying to criticize anybody who's a brown woman by basing femininity on a European standard, because they're kind of basing femininity on a European standard. Even if they wear their natural hair, femininity is still kind of based on a European standard, because different cultures practice different whatever they feel like femininity is. Like think about people who like the Andaman Islands, the Senegalese tribe, the Java tribe, or other things, places like other tribes like that, where what they consider to be feminine is not necessarily how brown women in the United States of America, or brown women just in the Western world, what they perceive femininity to be, right? But my point is, I think for the most part, what these brown women are trying to do is trying to, you know, kind of, what can I say, compete in this type of society. Compete in this type of society if a brown woman wants to kind of make a lot of room for herself in this particular kind of society. Okay? And if she wants to appeal to men in this society, most brown women who might be relationship experts, they could have dated all kinds of men, whether it's brown, whether it be Caucasian or Asian men or whoever. And they probably, for the most part, they kind of know what catches their gaze all around in this particular Western world, in this particular society. And so maybe when they push that kind of movement, they just understand. Some of them understand what it takes to get what you want in this world, and not just in this world, but definitely in this particular society. But like even in certain parts of Asia, like that movie called Memoirs of a Geisha. I mean, they had a certain aspect. They had to practice their own ways of femininity too. But like I say, you have some other areas of the world where femininity to those women in different cultures is completely different. So it all depends on where you are. The femininity is not the same for everybody on the planet. The definition and the way that looks is not the exact same. Okay? I also want to say that femininity, I feel like the last time, because I haven't been looking at a lot of these ladies' channels in a while, but I also feel like femininity, the reason why it's being pushed heavily on brown women is because brown women have been masculine, male identified for a long time, and not necessarily thinking about herself and putting herself first. So in a way, some part of femininity to some of these ladies that teach it a lot, they might feel like it's the brown woman is kind of nurturing herself and putting herself first and preserving herself, other than other than constantly trying to put somebody else first, instead of constantly trying to pump your fist and saying Black Lives Matter and acting like some kind of man and standing up against the SWAT team like you can really win that fight. Like that lady, when it was Alton Sterling and Philando Castile was shot, uh, and then all of a sudden you had all this stuff going on around that time, and then it was this image of this woman with glasses, a brown lady with glasses, um, and she was wearing a dress, and I remember she kind of had a split up the side, and the reason why I remember the split up the side of that dress is because the wind was blowing that dress. It's like the camera had a perfect still shot of that wind blowing the dress and her up against that SWAT team, as if she was going to really win that battle. I don't care how tough she thought she was. If that was going to be a real fight, she would have lost that quickly. I don't think it would take 5 seconds for her to lose that fight. But see, so because of the Black Lives Matter, and because of like those kind of images, and because brown women always felt like it was their duty to go out and protect the brown male every time somebody do something to him, but then she don't even want to protect her own daughter or her own baby son, even her baby boy or herself. Like George Floyd. Let me give an example for George Floyd. So this was in 2020. I remember it was Memorial Day 2020. And there was women in my comment section telling me that how a lot of people in their family will hop on them for not going out to march for George Floyd. Will hop on them. I mean, it was fights between females, not even fights between the men. The men wasn't trying to get their sons to get out and go march. The men wasn't fighting each other to get out and go march. It was the females, it was the women who was hopping on other females for not going out and marching, but the men were not obligated to do so. It was the females that was obligated to act like a doggone man, act like a savage, act like some beast, like you see on what's that movie? I can't remember that movie. If I can remember, it starts with I. But like how how you call an alpha female, but I'm talking about not an alpha male, but an alpha male in the sense that not a brute beast like you see somebody think they're alpha male because they want to call a woman a bitch. That's not an alpha male. I don't know where to get that from. I'm talking about the alpha male in the sense that they go hunting and like that what you call it, like primal type of men from those times that would go hunting and stuff like that. Have bows and arrows and stuff and live in the wild. Like they having brown women look like that alpha male like that. But the men would never challenge to do anything close to it. The men were more feminine and standing in his femininity, and the male was out fighting. The female was out fighting. The brown female, a brown woman, was out fighting everybody's battles for them. And so I feel like this movement has been heavily pushed. That's just how I feel now, because I'm looking at the timeline. I feel like this movement has heavily been pushed since Black Lives Matter, especially after Mike Brown, because Black Lives Matter got started after Trayvon Martin. And then it really, 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 really started to take off with Alton Sterling and Philando Castile, even though they was having a big deal of, Walter something. It was some other guy that was shot in the back 5 times. I don't know. He was running from the police and they shot him 5 times. And sometimes things look like it's like people are acting. People got to be careful what they take seriously, what they see on media. Okay? People need to be careful what they see on media. When they call themselves interviewing somebody's family, these people don't even sound like good actors, and they can't even make themselves cry. So people got to be careful. But that's a different story. That's a different subject right there. So I feel like, I don't want to blame these ladies too bad. I feel like ever since Black Lives Matter, and brown women always just going out showing their behinds, and like they gonna pumping their fist saying Black Lives Matter, and then they don't even defend themselves when they get raped, when they get attacked. Like during the George Floyd thing, and they had that autonomous zone or whatever, and they had that Black Lives Matter stuff. in the areas where most of the black people were, a lot of women were getting raped. A lot of women were getting kidnapped. A lot of women were getting killed. But the brown woman, so focused on this brown man, she couldn't even care the fact that she got raped. She was so focused on what happened to a brown man that she couldn't even take care of herself. So much happened to brown women during that George Floyd and that autonomous stuff, and in the area where the black people were. Because honestly, the autonomous zone where a lot of the Caucasians were, I mean, I saw a lot of people had their own personal videos recording the areas where most Caucasians were, and actually it looked quite peaceful, like Mayberry. Not to say that they ain't crazy themselves, but for the most part, they're not that violent. Okay, they're not that violent. That's not necessarily their nature. You have one or two folks that crazy as hell. For the most part, it ain't their nature to act all wild like a wild beast and violent like that. That's just not their nature. It seems like it's the brown people's nature to just act like they crazy as hell. They crazy as hell. That's when anybody gets some money to get the hell on out the neighborhoods. You don't owe them shit. You don't owe them shit. So basically, though, I'm being serious. I'm being silly with that. But it's really not a game. A lot of bad things happen to brown women during that, and they couldn't even defend themselves because they're programmed to care about the brown male. They don't care if they get punched in the face 50 times. It don't matter if they got shot 10 times. It don't matter if they got had a train ran on them. They ain't supposed to think about themselves, and I think that's why. And when I say that, I'm not yelling at the person that asked the question. I get passionate. Like, I'm from Alabama. I'm from Alabama. I don't know, other people act like that too, but I notice where I'm from, people talk like that. Even though I lived in California, I lived in Cleveland, I've been out of Alabama a long time, but I still act like, I still have the accent, and I still have the same kind of passion and everything, you know. And, you know, it's like, I get it. I get it why it's pushed so hard. We're sick of that consciousness. I don't even push femininity because I feel like, listen, I don't dress in high heels all the time. I don't wear lipstick all the time. I don't wear hair down my back all the time. I don't want to look like that. I don't feel like doing that. I don't feel like it. So I don't get into those kind of conversations, in those kind of circles because, see, I'm not interested in dating anybody. I just want to be me. And so I don't even watch a whole lot of them videos because I don't feel like changing. It is so much of myself to work on spiritually that I can't really worry about all this femininity, which is fine. But where I specifically am going has nothing to do with the Western world. Mentally, I'm no longer with the Western world. Mentally, I'm no longer with the Western world. So where I'm going, spiritually, is I'm letting, every day by day, I work on letting go of the physical world because the physical world is an illusion. And the reason why I'm letting go of the physical world is because it's very low in consciousness. Like, this is the lowest part of our subconscious mind, that of a belief in the physical world, which is an illusion. Like, we're very dense in our mind. And it's gotten worse since 2020 with them pushing all this stuff. It's gotten even worse. Okay? And so where I am has nothing to do with this society. I just do what I can to get what I can get. Okay? But a lot of femininity, yeah, it's about getting men and stuff like that, getting men with money and all that stuff. But it's also because I feel like it's been heavily pushed because since Black Lives Matter. I think femininity has been heavily pushed since Black Lives Matter. Okay? But at the same time, you still have to learn how to be yourself. You just can't always let somebody else tell you who you're supposed to be. I mean, it's good to take advice and stuff like that, but they just can't tell you who you're supposed to be. And a lot of people who is pushing femininity are not necessarily experts. Because to truly, truly understand femininity, it takes a little bit more work than okay, well, my life, I do this with my life goes well, so I do. But you can't just tell everybody to do what you do with your life, and it works out for you. That never works for me because everybody's different. Everybody has their own individual personality, and everybody has their own individual way that things work out for them. Everybody might not have the same personality as a certain woman, and so what comes with femininity is you're trying to tell them to have a certain kind of game. When I have to have all this game and be this persona in order to get a man or to get somebody with money, and I have to have this other persona, I constantly have to put on the mask to because what you did to get him, you're gonna probably have to do to keep him. Okay, and so you're gonna have to live a lie forever. I'd rather just figure out how to get rich without the men if I cannot be myself, and I constantly have to put on a show. You constantly have to put on a show. It's like you're never going to be comfortable being yourself and telling him things that's going on with you because you have to be a fake person to get him, especially if they're talking about somebody with money. And it's like whatever you did to get them, you're gonna have to do to keep them. And it's like, how long are you gonna be able to live this kind of life? Because if I gotta keep living like that, then I want to just figure out a way to be filthy rich myself. At least live my truth. At least live my truth. I don't feel like having to live a lie, you know. But other than that, I completely get in the way why so many women talk about femininity, but for the most part, it's mostly pushed on the brown woman because the brown women feel like a lot of times like it's her job to defend everybody else in the world. Like she's the man, she's the patriarch. So I get it, but femininity, the way they are describing it, is just femininity in their world. It's not femininity in everybody else's world on the planet, right? It's not femininity in everybody else's world. It's femininity in this particular society that they are in right now and what they did to make things work and how they see other people around them make things work in their femininity. It's based on what they have learned in this particular world, in this particular society. But so that's what, but it's not basically for everybody because different cultures are different, you know. Um, anyway, that's it. And I'll talk later.